All we have left now is our faith. Traveler's Chosen is an exotic sidearm that regenerates your abilities based on the number of gathering light stacks that you acquire. Weapon perks are Quick.SAS, armor-piercing rounds, Gift of the Traveler, which means that each stack of gathering light improves this weapon's reload, handling, and target acquisition, and short action stock. The intrinsic trait is Gathering Light, which means that final blows with this weapon grant stacks of gathering light. Holding down R consumes the stacks, granting melee, grenade, and class ability energy based on the number of stacks. What I've learned is that generally in PvE, each kill gives you 1 stack, and I've been told that in PvP, 1 kill gives you 3 stacks of gathering light. It seems that 1 stack equals 10% of your ability. So if you have 5 stacks and you hold down R, you'll get 50% of your ability back. And if you have 10 stacks, you'll get 100% of your ability back. So if your grenade energy is at 30% and you have 5 stacks and you hold down R, it'll bring you on up to 80%. And it applies to all 3 of your abilities at once. I push into my Pacific den and he is there. I see him looking over the side toward his traveler, head bent. He is speaking softly, but I can hear him. Anyone who is listening could. He waits for a response, and I do as well. Tense, curious. He stands attentively, this loyal dog of a man. It is no time at all for me, but for him, the hours creep by in silence. I am ready to choke the voice of his traveler if it answers him, but there is nothing. He tightens his grip on the railing. I feel something shift inside him, and a new possibility presents itself. Again, I press against the sockets. The net creaks softly with my eagerness. Someone approaches, and he turns his back to his traveler. There is an exchange obscured by the Rubicon thrash. He is given reports. Hope bleeds from him. He gives the messenger a token of his faith. They accept it without understanding its meaning. He watches as they leave. There is a hollow place in his center. It is beautiful. I return warily. I do not see him, but I hear him. He speaks to all with a voice thick with grief. I must learn how far I have been set back. I reach to him tentatively. Strength. I push and feel only sweet, soft rot. I am delirious with pleasure. It gave them no answers. It was a reflex, the spasm of dumb muscle. A song of joy rises within me. Now. I created 3 builds for the Traveler's Chosen. 1 for Solar, 1 for Arc, and 1 for Void. My goal was to integrate the Traveler's Chosen into the builds as a supplement to each build rather than creating the build around it, even though that is essentially what I did since I had to use that as my exotic weapon instead of other weapons that I would normally prefer. I will say that all 3 of these builds were a lot of fun, and the goal was just to constantly feed abilities using both the Traveler's Chosen and Charged with Light mods. Starting off with Solar, I debated between a healing build and a DPS build, and I ultimately decided on the DPS build because it's just a little bit more fun than just standing in place and shooting weapons. I like a really flowy, mobile warlock, and that was my aim for each build. While I like the super for Bottom Tree, which extends the duration of the super for each kill that you get, I found that Top Tree was a lot more powerful. I like the mobility of the Icarus Dash, and the melee on Top Tree Dawnblade is superior to the other 2 melees. This is a lot of fun, and I need a melee that's going to be really reliable because I'm using SUNBRACERS in this build, so I have to get those melee kills. I like solar grenades. I find that they're a lot more reliable and they just consume everything around them. including you, so you have to be a little careful with them. As someone who was a Stormcaller main for 2 years, I'm used to just throwing my grenade at my feet to clear ads, and it doesn't do any damage. So this took a little bit of getting used to. But I also played mostly Well of Radiance Warlock, so my grenade didn't really damage me. I would just drop the well, throw the grenade in the middle, it would clear out ads while I was able to DPS whatever I was trying to get. I do have a Healing Rift. I prefer Healing Rift because I take a lot of damage. It's really that simple. What we're going to do to test this build is go into a Hive Strike, and I prefer solar builds against Hive. So I chose the Summoner as my spray and pray weapon, my ad clearing weapon. And since I'm using a solar helmet, I decided to go with a linear fusion rifle because this is a pretty solid heavy weapon that can take advantage of mods on a solar helmet. My simulator hood, I've equipped with a strength mod. I have strength mods everywhere just to help decrease the melee recharge time. I'm using enhanced scatter projectile targeting. This is only 1 point instead of the enhanced auto rifle targeting, which is 3 points, which allowed me to take advantage of having an extra mod. So I added the linear fusion rifle ammo finder, which I always want to have an ammo finder for my heavy weapon, and the taking charge mod. So every time I pick up an orb of light, I get 1 stack of charged with light. SUNBRACERS is the armor piece that I've centered this around. These are set to solar, so I can add the enhanced auto rifle loader. Unfortunately, seasonal mods cannot be applied to exotics at this time. My goal with this build, in addition to having Traveler's Chosen available for when I need to refill my abilities, is to always have charged with light stacks. This is important so I can always take advantage of the charged with light mods that I have. And the charged with light mod that's really the key to this build is heavy-handed. I never used this mod before because I always use a solar warlock bond. But I was very pleasantly surprised by this. Heavy-handed, while charged with light, regains half of your melee energy when you use a charged melee ability. It consumes only 1 stack of charged light. So if I gain enough stacks of charged with light, then this will always be available to me whenever I melee. Another advantage is that while surrounded by multiple combatants, such as Thrall, defeating those combatants with a sidearm, that's one of the weapons that's listed here, and that is what we're using today, adds ammo for that weapon to reserves. So it feeds my ammo as well. Hands-on gains bonus super energy on melee kills. For all of these builds we're doing today, I want to feed my super energy, and this is the best thing I could find in what I'm using that would fit into my mod slot. And since we'll be doing a lot of melees because we need the melees to proc the perk on SUNBRACERS, here we go, hands-on. I also added Invigoration, which reduces melee cooldown each time I pick up an orb of light. So all of these mods are feeding each other. So as I said, my goal was to maintain stacks of light, and that's not always easy. So I wanted to make sure I had multiple stacks of light, and I wanted to make sure it was easy to get those stacks of light. So I usually run only 1 green mod that gives me those stacks of charged with light, and then I run 2 yellow mods to take advantage of the stacks. And what I found is that I generally don't have charged with light stacks available because I'm always using them. So not only do I have the Taking Charge mod that gives me a stack when I pick up an orb, but I decided to add the Sustained Charge mod, which gives me a stack when I rapidly defeat combatants with auto rifles. We are using Summoner, so I have to make sure I actually use my gun. It's so much fun just to get ability kills, and with this build you can use abilities somewhat excessively, which is why it's important to kind of get into a flow, a cycle of using everything that you have to constantly feed your abilities. So that auto rifle is super important to this build. As you can see, the Summoner has anti-barrier rounds. The advantage when you're not going against champions is that anti-barriers will allow you to shoot through Vandal shields, and it will allow you to shoot most effects while they're crouching, while they're regenning. And in the situation that we'll see today, they will allow you to shoot through night shields while they are regenning. I begin all of the strikes in this video with collecting 10 stacks of gathering light for the sidearm. So that gives me back 100% of each of my abilities when I hold down R on the Traveler's Chosen. I also focused on auto rifle multi-kills to get 3 charged with light stacks. And I got my 4th stack by picking up an orb. You can see from the Traveler's Chosen that it's not lit up, and so I don't have any gathering light stacks. I focused on clearing ads with it to get a few stacks, and that gave me just enough energy to fill all of my abilities. That allowed me to melee an enemy and use my SUNBRACERS to DPS the boss with grenades. I was also able to stay alive since I had a healing rift available. So when I had to think about a sidearm build, something to go with Traveler's Chosen, my instinct was to go with a shotgun. And one of the best shotguns that I have for an energy shotty is the 7th SERAPH CQC-12. Now, the perk that's really appealing here is lead from gold. Picking up heavy ammo also grants ammo to this weapon. What that means is that we probably don't need to put a shotgun ammo finder on this build, and I found that in testing, it absolutely was not necessary to use one. The other major benefit to this build is the 21% delirium. The major benefit of this machine gun is the overflow perk. Picking up special or heavy ammo reloads this weapon to beyond normal capacity. So I'm using a special weapon and a heavy weapon together. Lead from gold on the special weapon benefits from picking up heavy for this weapon. And pretty much with overflow on delirium, what this means is that if I'm in the middle of shooting an enemy and I'm getting low to where I'm going to need to reload, instead of reloading, all I need to do is step over onto the brick that's next to me. And as you'll see from the gameplay, there'll be a lot of ammo all over the place. No problem. I went with an Arc Crown of Tempests. I've equipped this because Stormcaller is an amazing super, and with the Crown of Tempests, it lasts for a very long time. You can clear whole rooms with Stormcaller. Another really nice thing is any ability kills will increase the recharge rate of all arc abilities. So whenever I use my grenade or my healing rift or my melee, my ability kills recharge. And I used this build for completing the Reaper Triumph for my Reckoner title and found that I was getting my super back really fast as long as I could keep those abilities flowing. On my gauntlets, I added the Swift Charge mod, become charged with light by rapidly defeating combatants with sidearms. This added value to using Traveler's Chosen. And then I added the enhanced shotgun loader to make that a more bearable experience. For the chest armor, I added Supercharged, which ultimately allowed me to max out at 4 charged with light stacks. On the boots, I added Quick Charge, which allowed me to become charged with light by rapidly defeating multiple combatants with my shotgun. It also greatly increased the ready speed of the shotgun. And then finally, on the Warlock Bond, I decided to get rid of Enhanced Bomber and just use Enhanced Ashes to Assets so I could put the Supercharged mod on there. That costs 5 points. That allows me to get up to a maximum of 5 stacks. Then I added the Innervation mod, which reduced the cooldown of my grenade each time I picked up an Orb of Light. Here I wanted to grenade the enemy, so I used Traveler's Chosen to top off my abilities, threw the grenade, and got some super energy. As you can see, this grenade gave me a significant amount of super energy. I was taking a lot of damage and had just thrown a grenade, so I didn't have a grenade or a healing rift. I decided to use Traveler's Chosen, even though I only had 3 stacks of Gathering Light, to top off my abilities. I then meleeed, which gave me my super, and I won the fight. The Void build for Traveler's Chosen uses the Top Tree Voidwalker subclass and Nezarec Sin as the exotic helmet, where all void kills regen all ability kills, including the super. With this build, I wanted to feed all of the abilities and keep feeding those into each other while using Traveler's Chosen as a complement for those times when all abilities are low. Starting off with Nezarec Sin, I put a double grenade launcher ammo finder on there for the Wendigo that we have as our heavy weapon. The gauntlets are arc instead of void because I wanted to take advantage of the swift charge mod that gives you charged with light stacks with sidearm multi-kills. Since these are arc gauntlets, I had to settle for the general large weapon reloader instead of the more specific grenade launcher reloader, which is on void armor. The chest armor is solar because I wanted to take advantage of firepower, which regenerates grenades up on use while charged with light. Since it's solar, I had to settle with the general large arm reserves again instead of the more specified grenade launcher reserves. And I used the extra point towards concussive dampener. The legs are also solar to take advantage of the sustained charge mod that gives charge with light stacks with auto rifle multi-kills. I also went with the generalized heavy ammo scavenger. As with all my void builds, I went with the enhanced bomber mod to give back grenade energy with each healing rift used. Innervation reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of light. And the supercharge mod gives 2 additional stacks of charge with light, up to a max of 5. In addition to Traveler's Chosen, I went with Gnawing Hunger as the auto rifle, especially since it's void, and so it feeds Nezarec Sin and helps regenerate all abilities. While Wendigo is an arc grenade launcher, it is one of the most powerful grenade launchers in the game. I went into this fight with a grenade that gave me my super, which I then used to clear ads. I continued to cycle through my abilities by using the melee, which recharged the grenade, which I threw again, and then I used Traveler's Chosen to get another grenade back. I was able to get my super back before I even got to the 3rd mine. I'm Diebear. If you like this video, please subscribe.